Hi guys, my name is Alyssa or Lily and I'm the artist behind Lilybirb Illustrations. I've been vending for almost a year, coming up in May. So I've done a few smaller events and then a larger one within that time. And I just wanted to start documenting my experience with vending at artist alleys. The first vlog of the year just so happens to be ALA. Just wanted to go over the application process. It was very stressful, to put it plainly. Applications are first come, first serve. On the day that applications were open, I was in the Discord server ready for the link to be posted. I was ready for like at least 30 minutes to an hour, just like in that channel waiting for the link to drop. And the moment it did, I clicked it and immediately it was sold out. And I was very frustrated because, you know, you have to like put in your information and things like that. And that takes maybe at most 10 seconds. So it was mind-boggling to me how things are already sold out the second I clicked the link. Almost as if like the link was available to others first. Because again, I just couldn't wrap my mind around how tables were sold out not 10 seconds later, but literally the second that I had clicked the link. So I ended up not getting an artist alley table. And so throughout the day, I was still trying to refresh the link because it looked like there was about 40 unclaimed spots or still pending spots. And so I was still trying my best to refresh the link on my phone, on my desktop as well. However, that same day, I also made plans to go hang out with friends. And so I was running out of time with keeping my spot, quote unquote, and also having to get ready and drive to the meetup spot. The whole process was very stressful. And there was at one point where I was just tired and I had to take a nap on the drive to the event. In that moment when I had stopped refreshing for like 30 minutes, I did. Those 40 spots were released. They were opened. And of course, by the time I woke up, got to the venue, they were all sold out. And I was devastated because again, I felt like I was so close. If I just needed those 30 minutes, I think, and I probably would have had a secure spot. Yeah, so I didn't get the table. So how did I get into ALA if I didn't get a table? Easy solution is that later, a few weeks after the initial artist alley tables had been all booked, an artist had reached out asking if anyone would consider splitting an exhibitor booth 3 ways. And I saw this as my opportunity to have a con for quarter 1 of the year. And of course I knew there were a lot of risks with like splitting with 3 artists, not knowing what spot we had as well. There was a lot of unknowns, but I still took the chance and put in an offer that I'd be willing to be the 3rd artist sharing the booth. And they got back to me, said that they could see us working well together. And I was very excited, very grateful for the opportunity. So that's how I got into ALA. We shared the booth space and they gave me the 3rd badge that the spot came with. And it was pretty smooth, pretty straightforward from there. So the next issue I encountered with this process is that because I missed the initial first waves of the stamp rallies that were being organized, a lot of the ones that were still open weren't like IPs or fandoms I was a part of, or if they were, I didn't have merch of at the time. So I didn't really have any other options but to host my own stamp rally. And again, adding another risk to the pot because I've never hosted before, especially at a convention of this size. I had no experience, but I knew that I needed to find a way to help bring traffic towards my table, especially being an artist of a small following. I just knew it was important to kind of give myself some exposure. Also, my booth mates have offered to do a stamp rally among the 3 of us, and I thought that was a really good idea, especially like for customers' perspective, where they're not having to travel a few feet or travel all the way across the convention center to go to these different booths. I thought it was very smart, whereas we have 3 artists here. Let's try to utilize that so then we can it's like, you know, we're all eating at the end of the day. So I thought that was a really smart idea, and one I would probably do again in the future. It's just very convenient because, you know, you're already working with them, you're already in the same space. So I thought that was a really good idea. And then I guess overall it taught me a lot of good lessons being a part of the 2 rallies. I learned a lot about hosting, organizing, and just doing your research when you invite people to your rally as well. And I can make another video going in depth about how to do a stamp rally I can definitely tell you what not to do, what mistakes not to make, because I learned a few mistakes I will not be making the second time around. Trust me. But a very good learning experience. So yeah, if you're interested in a more in-depth video, I'll probably make one in the future. I heard mostly good things about this con, and a few, like, you know, your mileage may vary. It just depends on like a few other variables how you do at this con. So I know there was SAC Anime the first weekend, Anime Los Angeles the second, and then Anime Impulse the third weekend of January. Applied to SAC Anime. I wasn't able to get the time off, and I got rejected from SAC Anime anyway, so couldn't do SAC Anime. Anime Impulse tables are first come first serve, priority first. So priority is like when you had table with them before, you'll be sent on the special email list. I never vended, so I didn't make the priority list, and the priority took over any of the tables, so there wasn't any for general applications. So didn't get into SAC Anime, wasn't able to get a spot for Anime Impulse. That leaves me only with Anime Los Angeles, and it was looking grim because at that point I didn't get the Artist Alley table, but you know, I was able to be a part of an exhibitor booth. I just really wanted to have a con locked down for Q1. It would have been nice to have 2 events, but again, just with the limitations that I have with my availability, it wasn't realistic to do more than 1, and that's okay. But with that being said, ALA, I expect it to be better than my last big show, and that was LA Comic Con in 2025 September. And for that show, it was 3 days, and I made almost 3 times my table. LA Comic Con show was pretty good actually. It felt really nice to kind of make like 4 figures from my art, especially like just like within a year of starting. For me, that felt really good. So with that in mind, I just did LA Comic Con, which was a 3-day event, and I had decent numbers for medium to large events. So with that in mind, I'm thinking that Anime Los Angeles should minimum meet that, possibly exceed it, especially since it's 4 days. It has more of a following, more like devoted attendees. There's the ribbon culture, so there was like a lot of incentives, and because again, this is my first year and I've never vended at Anime Los Angeles, I had to remind myself to keep my expectations at a moderate level because it's still my first year. I've only ever done like day markets, biggest shows, LA Comic Con, so I don't really know what to expect. Wasn't sure about the profits, and so with that being said, I knew it was best to keep my expenses low as well. So for Anime Los Angeles, it's located in Long Beach, so I also just decided to go ahead and make the drive instead of booking a hotel. That means that I drove into Long Beach from day 0 all the way to Sunday day 4. That way I could help just keep the cost low, because I didn't want to invest too much financially because I wasn't sure how it would perform financially. But yeah, also things we did to keep costs low was just bringing in snacks and water. So then that way, the only expenses I had to make back were gas, table fees, and then it was $15 parking each day. Let's talk about day 0. Day 0, basically, there was no problems. I got there early, met with my booth mates, got my badge. There was no issues, except that it took a little longer. I think I got there around 10. It took me about 5 to 6 hours to set up, which I don't think was necessary. I think I just had like a lot of anxiety about the con and just wanted to make sure my booth was set up. So I stayed longer than I should and just ended up leaving later than I should and had to sit through 2-hour traffic on the way home. But again, it was no big deal. But yeah, just for future reference, just tried to just be more efficient with my time and just utilizing those lists and just trusting the list as well. Day 1, on the other hand, had an interesting start. So, you know, I drive in each day to Long Beach, and as I'm approaching the convention center, I'm about 5 minutes away from the parking, and I realize I don't have my badge. Mind you, it took me an hour 30 to get there. So I'm not close to home. The con opens in like an hour and I still need to finish setting up. I just need to do like the last finishing touches on my booth. So I'm frantic. I'm asking, what do? I go to the front security, ask how do I get a replacement badge. They told me to go to solutions in the center. I make my way to the solutions and they do give me actually a replacement badge. ALA will give you a replacement badge for $25, and if you bring back both badges next day, then they'll give you that refund. That calmed my nerves a lot because I was shocked that I even done that. I normally have my badge with everything else that I need to bring. I normally am more organized, so that just helped ease my nerves, and also was really nice of the convention center to offer that service. So I get my replacement badge, finish setting up. We actually had 30 minutes extra that day because I guess there was a holdup with the security. It took longer than anticipated, and so they gave the exhibit hall an extra 30 minutes to get ready. So instead of opening at 10, we opened at 10:30 on Thursday. So I was able to kind of use those 30 minutes to just try to center myself and just try to calm myself down. As the day went on, I was feeling the stress was starting to come back the later the day went on. And I try to keep in mind that day one is a Thursday. It's the middle of the work week, so people might not have that time off. But it was still slower than I had anticipated. But again, just trying to keep a level head. I just ended the day with lower sales than I had hoped. And then at some point I realized that my spot at the booth probably was not the best spot. I think it kind of hurt my numbers quite a bit actually, because the way I was positioned was that it was like I was only seeing the backs of customers. There wasn't any traffic coming towards my booth, and so I don't think the people who were passing by didn't really see it just because it wasn't in their field of view. So yeah, day one, not the best start. Did make some sales, but again, it was below the minimum I would have wanted to make for day one. Let's go to day two. Day two, the traffic had picked up, but not by a lot. And then at this point, it kind of like started to sink in further that I might not make my table back. I was feeling bad vibes throughout the day, and that started to impact my energy levels and how I interacted with customers. It was just hard to kind of keep a smile and that feel good mood on because I wasn't feeling good. And my emotions are very transparent, and so I realized that I need to try to do something to try to lift up my mood because I just wasn't feeling it. Actually, what ended up happening was that a lot of my regulars from other events I've done, they would come up to my booth, and it made me so happy to see them because they recognized me. They're like, oh, you're at this convention, oh, you're at this event, I remember your table, I remember this, and I still have your charm or your sticker. And those interactions, it just helped flip my mood like a complete 360. And I just took a moment to just be in that space with them, just to talk about their cosplay, how the con is going for them, and it really helped get me out of that funk that I was in, because it just made me happy that someone remembered me and that they were excited and happy to see me again. So those moments actually just is what I needed to help boost my morale, and I'm so appreciative for my customers to just take the time to come say hi to me. It just lifted my spirits and made me realize I'm starting to actually have supporters and a community surrounding my artwork. I think at some point you can kind of disassociate from what you do and it feels very isolated. So it was a nice reminder to feel like, no, there are eyes on my artwork. There are people who recognize me, who remember me, and they're out there. So it was nice. It was a very, very nice feeling. I needed it in that moment the most, and somehow they showed up for me, and that was really good, feel good moment there. But yeah, so day two ended up better financially than day one. There was a little bit more sales, and what's also interesting is that at the end of the day, they were explaining to me how hard it was to find my booth. They were telling me that they were trying to find my booth for hours or the whole day, and that just made me fully understand that my placement was not the best. And so it definitely hurt my numbers, I believe, because people just couldn't find me. I just wasn't seen. I was kind of hidden. It sucked a little bit. The way I was faced was like almost the opposite way that customers came. So they never came towards my booth facing me. I would only ever see the backs of the customers because the flow of traffic was just the opposite direction of where I was positioned. But yeah, so by day three, sales and traffic had picked up a little bit. Again, it's it felt like it was dragging. There wasn't as much profit as I would have liked once more. But you know, I did start to feel better because there was an increase in sales. And by day 3, I had finally made my table expenses and gas parking expenses as well. But I also had SakuraCon costs come up. So, you know, that also took a chunk of the profits I was seeing too. But, you know, at the end of the day, we did make back table expenses and a little bit more. So that's all I can ask for at this point. So day 3 was a lot better. Not a lot, but you know, we're still in the green. It's a steady increase over the days. So that's the best we can hope for. Finally, day 4, last day. Day 4 is Sunday. It ended up being my best day for sales. Sunday was better than Saturday. Saturday was better than Friday, and Friday was better than Thursday. So it was a steady increase over the weekend. Day 4, we had a lot of interest in those stamp rallies that I did, and a lot of completed rallies. And that made me feel proud actually, because these were my first 2 ever stamp rallies, and one of them being the first stamp rally I ever hosted. So it was really nice to see positive feedback and seeing those rallies get completed. So very proud of myself in that moment where I was like, okay, so I am capable of hosting a stamp rally, facilitating it, and having it be successful. I moved my goalpost 3 times and I finally hit the last goalpost I had. I think that by the end of it, I was feeling more hopeful because even though I didn't make much profit, I ended up feeling more confident in my work, and it was a learning experience and I learned a lot. And I truly think that my profits would have been way more comparable to LA Comic-Con if I was placed differently. I think that day 4 was good, closed it out, packed up, and yeah, I went ahead and drove home and just clocked out as soon as I got home. But yeah, day 4 was really good. Got to see a lot of people, saw a lot of amazing cosplays, and ended the night in the green. So let's go over my thoughts, feelings, concerns for the event. Let's start with the con itself. It had very clean bathrooms, it had water stations, and it was a very easy process to get replacement badges. So overall, the event itself I felt like very organized, and the convention center also had clean facilities as well. So those were bonuses for me. Bathrooms were easy to find as well. I felt like there could have been more signage towards the exhibitor booths to let customers know that there was more to see in the exhibit hall, because I think that could have helped move traffic towards my aisle a lot more. But yeah, just a little better signage, but everything else I think was very organized. There's also a point where the Discord was talking about security, how they had people dumping out their waters or throw away food, and I don't say this to be like that didn't happen, but I think from my experience, I was able to bring in snacks, food, coffee, and a full 40-ounce Stanley like each day. So I think that says way more about the communication of the security and the event, the convention staff, because it seemed like from different times and different entry points, it was different rules. So I came in from the loading dock each day. I did go through the metal detector and there was a bag search, but I never had to throw away food or throw out my water. So I do think there's a consistency issue with that, because a lot of people had to throw stuff out and there was a lot of people who came in with food. So it just seemed like it depended, right place, right time, right person type of thing. So how did the event go? In short, it was a roller coaster of emotions. I think at first I was internalizing a lot, feeling like there was no interest in my art, or having a lot of self-doubts if this line of work is right for me, if there's even demand for my artwork, if I can stand out, and just a lot of feeling down and self-conscious as well. But towards the end, I started to realize that wasn't as true as it felt like, and I had to remind myself that everyone will have a bad con at some point. All of my events before were very successful, so it was kind of like I was due for one, and if it was going to be one, it would be this. So you know, I have to remind myself that not every con will be profitable. Sometimes I will get dealt a bad hand, and the growing part is learning how to handle those type of events and how I pivot from it. With all of that being said, I don't regret taking the risk of doing this con. No matter how many low points I felt, I think in the end, mentally it made me stronger, because I was starting to change my thinking of how I can improve. So instead of sulking about the event, my mind went into like, not business mode, but like action mode. It was like, all right, so this is not working. This didn't work. How it was trying to find solutions for the problem I was currently in. I think having this experience was important, so I know how to handle conventions that don't go as planned. Just having like a good mental is very important, and I learned how to develop that during this event. After I was done being butthurt about my profits, I just started to think of new ways, new ideas to expand my product line, just knowing that the next event will be better because of how much I learned from this one. Also, I did this event solo, so it taught me that I am able to do them solo, taught me how to organize my workflow and time management doing this event by myself. I learned about ribbon culture, and I was able to start documenting my process, showing my growth as well. And so with all of that being said, I would love actually to try ALA again under different circumstances. I think it'd be really fun or really interesting to see how this year compares to next year. And I'm really hoping that I'm able to get in, because I would like to see the difference and compare it. So I think that'd be really fun to try to keep track of. I feel actually really eager and feel refreshed to keep pushing myself, because I think I'm just coming out of this stronger, and I'm excited to see what else I'm able to come up with. And I think at the end of it, where I was feeling like the issue was my art, it actually was just the placement of my booth. And so, you know, I had to learn to like not internalize. I had to learn not to internalize my situation. I learned that it wasn't just me who had poor sales. There were other tables as well who were also concerned about profits and making back table. It sucked that other people were experiencing what I was feeling, but it made me feel better where it's like other artists who do have a following are still encountering this problem. And that goes back to what I said, everyone will have a bad con. It wasn't just because of Alyssa, because of her table, because of her artwork, because of her setup, because of her personality. It was none of those things. Sometimes it's just you get dealt a bad hand, you get a terrible placement, or there's no signage, and it's just, it was not in my control. And because of that, you know, it impacted my sales. But just trying to remind myself that I have been successful and I will be successful, and sometimes that success is dependent on forces that I cannot control. Also with this event, I saw so many cool cosplays too. So there was like a lot of really fun cosplay groups I got to see, and it was just a really fun community. It's a very social event, and I think for me, who's trying to be more social and get out of her comfort zone, this was a really fun event and helped me get out of my shell a little bit by initiating conversations. So yeah, I'm really happy that I had the conversations I did with different people, different artists, and yeah, there was a lot of cool cosplays. Give them a follow as well, please, because their cosplays looked so good. The amount of work that you can tell what was put in is just amazing. So I just wanted to give a little shout out to the cosplayers who stopped by my booth. Y'all looked amazing. I still think about these cosplays today. Things that sold well for me at this event, I sold about 10 sticker books, about 2 each of the large ones that I had, and 4 of my mini sticker books. So they moved a lot better at this event than anywhere else. Also, stickers remained my best seller. I sold out of Kane, and I sold out of my FNAF bundle, and I almost sold out of my Jack stickers. So yeah, it was really cool to see different categories at this event. There was a more variety of sales than I've seen at other events. So it was really cool to kind of see other pieces of my work get some love too. Let's review what didn't work at this event. What did we learn? We learned not to forget our badge. I don't know how I forgot my badge, but I need to come up with a better system to prevent that for next time. What also didn't work was splitting a booth 3 ways. It wasn't terrible. Again, my booth mates were very lovely people, so I have no complaints about them. Everyone was very cooperative. We all worked together to make the space as comfortable as possible for each other, and just they're very considerate of each other's space. So again, there was like no clashing there. I think the only concern would just be about space. and just poor placement. It would be nice if I was able to pick my spot, like my booth spot, and then just have more space in the back to kind of maybe stretch or have my helper as well. I don't think splitting made or break the event, but yeah, it's just a preference. It's just a preference. I think at the end of the day, I probably would prefer to max split a booth with one other artist rather than 3 artists. And lastly, why I don't think this is the main factor for my expectations not being met, but I think having more variety in my artwork, I think will help me in the future as well. I have to remind myself that this hasn't even been a full year of me on this journey, and so that just means that there's a lot of room to grow, because I think a lot of people do stop at my booth and they do like what they see, but they just want more. Like, that's the vibe I get, where it's like, oh, this is really cute, or like, oh, but she's missing this person, or she's missing this franchise. So I definitely think there is a want for my art. So that's just the biggest goal, is to like just add more to broaden my audience. What did work? The stamp rallies. The stamp rallies were so fun to do. So I think next time, again, I will try to keep it to 2 or 3 stamp rallies, and maybe at least try to host 1 as well, just for my own development, just so I can just be more comfortable with organizing and having conversations with people. Building those skill sets is very important for me. So yeah, the stamp rallies were really fun. They were successful. I learned a lot for next time as well, and they did good. Getting there early also helped with my anxiety. I was just able to like take a moment to breathe, set my booth up how I would like without feeling rushed. So getting there early helped also provide room for any possible like mess up. Snacks were good. It helped cut costs by bringing in my own food each day. And the ribbons were really fun too. I was able to participate in ribbon culture. I traded ribbons, I offered ribbons, did free ribbons. It was really fun, and I'm excited to partake again. I have more ideas for new ribbons now. And I think finally what worked was just keeping a level head. I think it's important to kind of feel those emotions of like disappointment and concern, but you know, I didn't let it consume me, and I was able to just work out of it. And so I think that just helped me mentally by just trying to, you know, think outside of myself, or just try to turn this moment into a teaching moment, make the next show a better show. And we have reached the end of the vlog. I just want to thank everyone who supported me during my first convention this year, and thank you to those who stayed to the end of this video. I hope to get better at vlogging in the future. I'm still very camera shy. Again, I didn't like the footage I had, so I need to work on that confidence a bit more, but hopefully the next one will be an actual vlog. So please stay tuned for that, and please consider subscribing. I'm a new artist, and I'm just trying to grow the community I have, and I would love if you could be a part of it. And also, if you missed my ribbons, there's still a chance to get them actually, because I am now opening up my Etsy, so they'll be on there as well. There's some deals for the ribbons too. If you're interested, go ahead and check it out. And then you can also follow my IG for real-time updates, see what I'm doing. If you're just curious, go ahead and check me out there. And then I do post on TikTok sometimes, so you can also follow me on there. Thank you again for staying tuned for this long, and I hope to see you in the next video. Bye!